What is up, everyone? Movie back again with a brand new series, and today is going to be the first episode of Shocking Movies. Now, these are more of the extreme ones that people say are the worst of the worst out there, ones that have been banned in so many countries and stuff, and ones that are just way too over the top that people say it's too extreme. So I decided to explore them and tell you if they're worth seeing or not. Now, the first one we have here is Hate Crime from 2012, which is still banned in the UK. So let's get into it. Hate Crime is a 2012 found footage movie directed by James Cullan Bressack and sets out to shock as hard as possible by having three masked men enter a Jewish family's home and make their lives a living hell. Now, I came across this when reading an article saying these movies are still too shocking to be released in the UK and they are still banned. We've had a ton of movies banned here. The Video Nasty list from the infamous, it was very infamous in the 80s. But I think there's only like a handful now. I think it might just be these 6 in this article that were banned, but one of them was Hate Crime, and I was just thinking, what's this movie? A found footage film? Sounds interesting. And I just had to check it out to see if it is worthy of that banned status still. I also really think found footage films, when done right, can be quite fun at times and quite effective. And Hate Crime gets about half of that right, because I do feel like this was a very effective film, what it was going for. But I wouldn't say I was actually being entertained or having any fun whilst watching it. That's not to say it's a bad movie, it just made me feel a little bit uncomfortable at times, i.e. effective. Now, I'm not one who's easily shocked. Not really many movies disturb me, to be honest. I'm just one of them people who's never really, said, oh my god, I need to turn this movie off, it's too extreme, or I can't watch this. But I'm not gonna lie, there were some shocking moments in here, and it did make me wince at times. A lot more so than some other movies I've seen. Look, I'm just going to get into what happens here. I'm sure some of you have come here to see what content this movie has. So I'm just going to talk spoilers right there. That is your warning. But some of the things you see in this film are kind of grim. There is young people being forced to take cocaine, and a lot of it. There are eyeballs being pulled out. I'm not even joking. There is forced incest, and I felt really bad watching these scenes on this family because it was just so depraving for them. And that was probably the hardest thing to watch in the entire movie, actually. But there's also a young boy here who is like 10 years old, shot in the head on his birthday. This movie goes for the Juggler and a lot of times succeeds. There's a boy in this who's like 17 years old, and I felt so bad for him. There is some of the shit that he is forced to go through in this movie is you wouldn't wish it on your worst enemy. I felt so bad for the guy, I really did, and he seemed like this sweet, innocent kid, and he just goes through absolute hell and back here. The movie also throws a hell of a lot of incredibly racist language at this family. I mean, everything that these masked men say to this family are a slur on Jewish people, really, and they go by the names of 1, 2, and 3, but they just treat this family like absolute garbage, like pieces of shit, and they have no emotion whatsoever for what they are doing to them. Now, I've always said humans are the most scariest thing about movies because monsters, paranormal entities, they're not something you come across in everyday life, but humans are people that you walk past all the time down the street and you don't quite know what they are capable of. And I think Hate Crime shows the darker side of humans that it possibly can. These 3 characters are just the worst humans in the world, and they do not stop for the entire runtime of this film. Every minute is someone just going through a living hell. I'm not joking. I don't even think it was 5 minutes in that this movie just kicks shit off and doesn't stop till it finishes. I would go as far to say that this is a horror movie. I mean, this family are going through a living hell here. It's a horrific time that is happening, and it's a scary experience for them. And the director, James Cullan Bressack, even came out and said that he thinks it's a horror movie. In fact, when the UK banned this film, he did actually put a statement out there, and he said, as a Jewish man and a victim of Semitic hate, I made a horror film that depicts the very thing that haunts my dreams. As an artist, I wanted to tell a story to remind us that we live in a dangerous world, a world where racial violence is on the rise. It saddens me to learn that censorship is still alive and well. I get on board with what he's saying. I think what he went for, it did pay off for the most part. As far as the whole filmmaking goes here, with the found footage aspect, I think this was done well enough. I mean, sometimes when I'm watching these found footage films, I think, why would you be filming that? You're in trouble. Why would you be filming that? But this is basically taken from these three guys who enter the home, and the family are already filming the son's birthday party, and they rob the camera, and it enhances their experience. They're getting off filming this, so why would they stop? And it kind of makes sense as to why everything has been filmed here. I've seen it done way better than this, I'm not going to lie, but it was fine. However, the biggest problem with Hate Crime for me was the acting. Now, the family were really kind of good at looking like they were scared and stuff, but these three masked men, the dialogue that they delivered just couldn't quite land, and it totally took me out the experience at the time. If the filmmaking was good, it just didn't have the acting to go along with it, which is a big shame because I feel like this movie could have been a lot more impactful. But sometimes it just felt like a character would be doing something absolutely horrendous to someone while trying to remember his lines. It just didn't quite get that flow going with these masked men, I feel. Not all the time, but a lot of the time, and that is where the main problem of this movie lies. Like I said, it could have been way more effective if it was more believable. This is also a 70-minute movie, and in the middle there is 10 minutes of filler, and it's basically just one of the masked men talking in a weird sexual way to the teenage daughter, and for me, it just didn't need to be there. They could have just made this movie 60 minutes and would have still got its message across. It still would have been the same movie, because it was just such a dull scene. It was boring to watch, really. It was just didn't need to be there. It just felt so out of place, and it goes on for a good 10 minutes, and it's just like, oh, what is this scene? Like, why is it there? And it really just feels like it was there to stretch the runtime out. Overall, though, this movie did shock me in a lot of places. However, I don't think it's a very good movie. I don't think it's a very bad one. But if you like found footage and you're looking for something a little bit more from that found footage subgenre, maybe check Hate Crime out. But this movie is definitely not going to be for everyone. Now, should this movie still be banned in the UK? Look, I'm not really for censorship. For me, if a movie's a little bit violent, so what? It's just a movie. I mean, I don't believe people are influenced by films. It's never actually been proven. So for me, there's very, very few films that I think should be banned. But I know why they have banned it. I do feel like it probably fits the BBFC's criteria in a lot of ways there. I'm just going to go ahead and rate this movie now. I'm going to give Hate Crime a 5 out of 10. I feel like a lot of these movies may sort of score the same there, really, because most of them are just set out to shock. They're not there to be entertaining or anything. You're just there to have an impact on you. And I can't actually say go out and watch this and have a great time, because that's not what you'll get. You'll get a totally different experience. Like I said, not a good movie, not a bad one. Now I'm just going to rate the shock factor here, which is something I'm going to be doing in this series. I'm going to give the shock factor a score out of 5, and Hate Crime is going to get a 3.5 out of 5. Like I said, there was some really disturbing scenes, and it probably would have got 4 out of 5 if the acting was a little bit better. But the acting just took me out a little bit of it at times, and I was just thinking, it's grim to watch, but I know it doesn't feel real at times, just because the dialogue and stuff was really bad. So it shocked me a lot more than a lot of other films, but nothing too extreme. I've seen worse. Okay, at the end of these reviews, I always like to leave a little fun fact. Now, a fun fact for Hate Crime is that some of the actors were actually really slapped during the making of this film. Okay, guys, I hope you all enjoyed this review. What do you think of this shocking movie series? Is this something you want to see? Is it something you don't want to see? Let me know. If there's any movies you want me to cover, leave them down below as well. Salo, Martyrs, or the August Underground. there's going to be one of these, like, maybe every month or two. You know, just something to throw in there and shake the channel up a little bit. Take it all easy, guys, and I'll see you on the next video.